Tiffany, the Budgetnista, on board. So in the meantime, drop your questions below, you guys. We are going to have an awesome conversation today about debt and debt payoff and building wealth. So in the meantime, while I get Tiffany on our Instagram live, go ahead and drop your questions below. And again, we are waiting for Tiffany Alice, the Budgetnista, to come on and request to be in our Instagram live. She is going to be on in just a few minutes. So don't forget, guys, for those of you that just tuned in, drop your questions below. We are going to be talking about debt payoff, investing, building wealth with Tiffany Alice. She is the Budgetnista. And if you guys don't follow her, definitely after this live, go follow her. She's amazing. She lives in New Jersey. She has some awesome tips to get your personal finance life in order. So let's see here. All right.
Hey.
I think we are on.
Yay. A lot of light.
Oh, you are here, girl. We are so excited to have you. Thank you so much for jumping on and being on our Instagram live. And just to our audience, this is Tiffany Alice. She is America's favorite personal finance expert. Her goal is to empower women and give them the tools and resources they need to create a better life for themselves and their family. Tiffany, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Well, we are so excited to have you. Again, you guys, my name is Mercedes Barba. I'm the senior video producer at Money Magazine. Today, we are going to have an awesome conversation on debt payoff, building wealth, investing. And Tiffany, for those of our audience that don't know you, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yes, I am better known as the Budgetnista. I've been teaching financial education for the last 10 years. I actually built my business during the last recession. So we're back. And I have a tribe of amazing women that we call ourselves dream catchers. There are a million dream catchers worldwide. We are the beehive of personal finance. Yeah, that's it.
I love that. So for those of you that aren't following Tiffany, after this live, go follow her at the Budgetnista. She's incredible. She drops amazing financial knowledge. So Tiffany, doing a little bit of research about you, I know that you have had a pretty incredible life, personal finance career, personal finance life. So just to kind of give a little bit of our audience a little background on yourself, your father was a CFO. He was a chief financial officer. You talked about personal finance in your home every single day. Your family talked about your budget. And then, as you mentioned, the Great Recession, you lost your home and you lost your job. And this kind of led you to the Budgetnista. So can you tell us a little bit about your personal story and a little bit about Budgetnista?
Sure. So yeah, I was a school teacher in 2008. And then in 2009, we were informed 3 days before the school year, there's no more school. We lost our funding. And so, but I was already kind of like the Budgetnista before. I just didn't have like a name for it, because growing up in a household where money was talked about all the time, it was normal for me. So as I was creating solutions for myself, my friends were like, okay, we're all kind of broke, but you seem to be handling brokenness better. Can you show me what you're doing? And I was like, sure. So every weekend someone would come over my house, and before I knew it, it was like friends and friends of friends. And then I was like, well, I don't know how to close that. And so someone was like, you should turn this into a business. And I started by writing financial literacy curriculum for organizations like the United Way and teaching them in person. And then someone wrote me on social media, because I used to post pictures of me teaching and say, I wish you were in Ohio, or I wish you were in Florida, because I live in New Jersey. And I thought, well, how could I take this knowledge that I'm teaching and bring it online? So I created some free resources, my favorite being the Live Richer Challenge. They're totally free. And then it just grew. I didn't realize just how many women wanted to be seen and heard by women talking about money. And so Dream Catchers were formed. We are like in financial formation, and it's a million women worldwide who collectively work on their finances together. We have a Facebook group that's like almost 500,000 women strong. It's a positive place where you can ask questions. And I mean, so many amazing things have happened. Like I was recently on Queer Eye. It was the first time they ever had a finance person on Queer Eye, and I got to help Tyreek, who's an amazing Queer Eye hero who needed to get on financial track. And so I just had so many awesome opportunities. Oh, I wrote my first children's book. I'm like, where's my little, this is my little baby. Right, so I wrote a lot. Honestly, I've written a lot of books, but like a lot of financial books. So the Literature Challenge, like I told y'all. So I've got a ton of books on Amazon, but this is like my baby because I used to be a preschool teacher, and I thought, why is there not financial foundational information for kids? So I wrote one. And so, yeah, she's like so literally this is the site, mollymore.com. But financial education is, to me, is the cornerstone for adulthood. So much so that I actually helped to write a law that got passed last year in New Jersey, making financial education mandatory for middle school students in New Jersey. So teaching and financial education, truly, they're just my life. It's like my life.
I love that. I read that about you, that you passed a law, that you co-wrote a law. And I was like, that is incredible. I actually used to live in New Jersey. I think getting personal finance in school is so extremely important. This should be at a federal level. This should be nationwide, really. But, you know, a lot of people, I mean, it's so important to inform yourself about personal finance, especially since we're not taught in the home. You were one of those lucky people that talked about it in the home. I was not so fortunate. My parents didn't really talk so much about personal finance with me, but that kind of brought me to my career now. And I'm educating myself. And I actually bought one of your books. So I will be reading that. And for our audience, go on Amazon, type in The Budgetnista and get some of her books. And Tiffany took over our Instagram. So if you guys go after this live, you can go see some of the books that she talks about there. So Tiffany, so talk to me a little bit about, there is something that you have been talking about in regards to debt payoff, which is being debt free does not equal wealth. So let's talk a little bit about debt payoff, and, you know, essentially paying yourself first.
Yes, absolutely. So the DebtFree community is like, clutching their pearls right now because, you know, and I'm not going to lie, I used to be a card-carrying member of the hardcore DebtFree community, and I still am. I'm actually debt-free now. I'm in this house. We don't have a mortgage. The car that I drive and that my husband drives, there's no car debt. I don't carry any credit card debt, so I'm absolutely debt-free from rooter to the tutor. But I learned along the way that debt-free should not be the goal, that debt-free is a goal. That wealth, you know, when it comes to your finances, should be the goal, because debt-free does not equal wealth. I give the example of my nephew, Roman. My sister's so sick of having to talk about Roman. Because she's like, stop telling people Roman is broke. Roman is broke. Roman is poor. Roman doesn't have a car note. He doesn't have a mortgage. He doesn't have student loans because he's poor. And even though Roman is absolutely debt-free, Roman is also broke. Roman comes over every weekend, eats up all my cookies and graham crackers because Roman is broke. So it's like, well, if he's debt-free at 4, what does debt-free mean by itself? Not much, right? And so what I want us to focus on is on growing wealth, because when you grow wealth, on your way to growing wealth, you are also working on debt-free. But when you're just working on debt freedom, you're likely forgetting about growing wealth. I'll give you an example. There was a young woman who follows a really popular financial guru. And she was like, you know, I waited till I was completely debt-free before I started putting money away for retirement. And I was like, oh, no, because you've missed the opportunity of the magic of compounding interest. That even if she put just $200 a month away in her 20s, that what happens is that your money grows and it grows interest. So now you have 210. Now that $210 gets to grow interest. So now you have 220. Now that $220 gets to grow interest. So literally you're growing money on top of your money because your interest is earning interest. You can literally never get that back. And so the fact that she waited until she was completely debt-free in her late 30s before she started putting aside for retirement was heartbreaking. And I don't want people to start waiting to grow wealth. Now, here's what I will say. The caveat is if you have expensive debt, you should get that off your books first before you start investing for wealth. So what's expensive debt? Typically it's credit card debt. It's typically double-digit interest rate debt. So most credit cards you're looking at 10%, 20%. Some people even have 30% credit card interest rates, right? So you're wanting to get rid of that debt, absolutely, because that debt is outpacing what you could possibly earn when you invest. I'll give you an example. So the market on average yields, if you look at a 10-year span, it's going to yield 7 to 8% a year, right? So if your debt is costing you 20% and you're likely to make back 7%, it's better to get rid of that expensive debt than to try to invest in the market. Now, if your debt is costing you, say, it's a student loan that's costing you 3%, and the market is on average going to give you back 7, 8%, I'm not saying don't pay down your student loan debt, but I'm saying don't only pay down your student loan debt. If you have an extra $200 a month, maybe half the student loans and then half to invest. So you see what I mean? So debt freedom is not the goal. It's just a goal on the way to growing wealth.
100%. Yeah, I mean, for a long time, just talking personally here, I was actually trying to pay off my student loans, pay off my credit card debt. And I realized, mid into my 20s that I was like, wait, I'm not investing in myself and I'm not putting money away in a Roth. And working in personal finance, I learned the beauty of what you mentioned, compounding interest. Start early, your money works for you, not the other way around. And so I, started putting money towards myself first. I started investing in my Roth IRA, maxing out my 401k. And then, with the money left over, I was budgeting and I was paying off my high interest credit cards first, which I have done, which feels so good. And next I will tackle my credit cards in addition to paying myself. So thank you for that, super important nugget. I think a lot of people out there hear other personal finance experts say, pay off your debt, you'll feel so good. But if you're not investing in yourself, what does it all mean? Because when you become Roman, 50s and 60s.
Yes, you become Roman. You become a 4-year-old that has no debt but no money.
Right. And that's the way to build wealth and to build generational wealth as well, is to invest in yourself and invest in your family in the future. And so this kind of leads me to my next question here is, if you could give financial advice to a 20-year-old person or somebody, a millennial, somebody in their youth that needs to start investing now and doesn't know how to, what advice would you give them?
So I would tell them, one, start taking classes to learn how to invest. Absolutely. But don't enter the market with, what's the hot stock? No, I get it. We all want to be Robinhood investors, but that it's actually better for you to open up a target date fund. So I'm assuming, let's pretend like we're talking about your retirement fund, right? So I would say open up a target date fund, go to one of these brokerage accounts. So there's like Charles Schwab, there's Vanguard, there's a Fidelity. I'm trying to think some other ones. So you would open up a brokerage account with one of those brokerage companies, and I would open up a target date fund, which is typically a mutual fund, a basket of stocks. I would open up a total market target date fund. So what that means is that so there are individual stocks that you can purchase, but a mutual fund is a basket of stocks and sometimes bonds that you can purchase. So that way you don't have to pick which one is going to be hot or not. No, especially if you open up a total market fund, which means it's going to be representative of the whole market. And remember I said earlier that the market on average is going to yield 7 to 8%, and you'll see like in a 10, 20-year span, meaning that you're going to put your money in, you're going to put it like a savings account. Every $200 every pay period or whatever that is. And what I like about a target date fund is that as you get older, your money, you should rebalance your money, because the closer you get to your target date, which is typically retirement, the safer or more conservative your investment should become. Most people don't rebalance year from year. So my dad is in his 70s. He just had his birthday. Shout out to you, Daddy. Right? My father should not be investing in super risky stocks because we're here now. He's in retirement. He needs to be largely invested in cash investment. So like mostly savings, some bonds, So, but most people don't know how to rebalance every single year as they get older and closer to their target date. But if you put it in a target date fund, because it's a target date fund, it's going to rebalance for you. So if you just did that, I'm going to put money every month into my target date fund. It's a total market target date fund, and pick the fund that has what they call the lowest expense ratio. So expense ratio is the fee that fund is charging. Most people in their 20s, they're like, I can't afford a financial advisor. You might not need one right now. A financial advisor is going to typically charge at about 1%, sometimes a little bit more, sometimes a little bit less. But what I love about a target date fund is that it does all that for you as far as investing your money. And some of the fees are as low as 0.09%. So like a piece of a penny. Yeah. And so that way you get to keep more of your money, because the biggest drawback sometimes about investing are the fees involved. So that's why I like mutual funds, and that's why I like target date funds. That's what I would tell people to start.
I love that. That is so important and so valuable knowledge. We actually have a couple questions from our audience. What about people in their 30s and 40s that didn't invest in their 20s? What advice do you have for them now?
So I would still say, like, because here's the thing: if you're not able to invest in, meaning do the work that, like for me, I'm not interested in picking stocks and figuring out. So I have a different buckets of target date funds. So I have some mutual funds that I invest in that are heavily bonds. I have some mutual funds that I've invested in that are mostly stocks. I have some international mutual funds. So if you were in your 30s, you might switch up a little bit. Like if you're someone who's just starting, a total market fund, do that and start. But if you're someone who's willing to do a little bit of the research, you might realize, well, I want some bonds, some stocks, some international investing. But you don't have to have 50 different types of funds that you invest in. 3 or 4, honestly, are likely going to be enough. Total market fund, total bond fund, and some international money. That's what I would say in your 30s. And then beefing up how much you're putting towards your retirement. So once you've kind of maxed out your retirement, so here's what I say first. First, you max out retirement if you're able. Then you budget for the rest of your life. So that's paying yourself first, putting aside for retirement. Then you budget for the rest of your life. And then what's left over, you are saving, paying down debt, and investing for wealth. Retirement is not investing for wealth. Retirement is investing to maintain your current lifestyle. So that comes first. Retirement first, budgeting, then it's debt, savings, and investing for wealth. And so that's what I would say in your 30s, to really lean in the investing for wealth component of your life.
Love it. Love it. And for those of you that are just tuning in, this is Tiffany Alicia. She is the Budgetnista. She is a personal finance expert and has amazing resources and tools on her website. So you guys have to go check it out. Is it thebudgetnista.com?
Yep, thebudgetnista.com. Mm-hmm.
Amazing. So we do have a couple questions from our audience that we actually solicited before this Instagram live. Yes. Some really, really good ones here. One of them being, what should people do right now in a pandemic? Should they be saving or should they be paying debt?
Great question. So actually my older sister called me and said, she bought a house and she said that she had used her credit card and she was like, I was being real aggressive with paying down debt. And I said, she's like, should I continue to do so? I said, well, how do your savings look? Do you have at least 6 months of what I call your noodle budget? Mm-hmm. So your noodle budget is the if I had to eat ramen noodles budget, right? Meaning like if I had to really drop down and get my noodle on, meaning getting rid of any of the excess, right?
Yeah.
So if you, meaning just your bare bones essential expenses. So whatever those are, so maybe your regular life costs you, say, $5,000 a month, but your bare bones essential expenses cost you $4,500, $4,000 a month, right? So instead of having $5,000 times 6 months, which is $30,000, you really should have $4,000 times 6 months, right? And so what that means is if you have 6 months of noodle budget saved, then you can go back and be aggressive with paying down debt. If you don't, especially during times like now, you need to have savings. If this pandemic has taught us nothing, it's the importance of emergency savings. Because if you are debt-free and you don't have savings, you are in debt. People are like, that's not true. Okay, let's play a game. I have $2,000 in my savings account. Woo! I've got a credit card that's $2,000. Okay. Now I'm like, hey, savings account, I'd like to be debt-free. Pay off my debt. That's like, yay, we're done. And then my car breaks down. And I'm like, oh, what should I do? Savings account? Savings account's like, there's nothing here. You spent us. Credit card? Well, I guess we'll be swiping you. Guess what? Back in debt again. And now I'm actually going to be charged for using this as a savings, as a emergency tool, when I could have just pulled my savings account. So you're always wanting to make sure that you have some savings, at least 6 months worth of savings before you get aggressive with that.
Yeah. And this goes back to what we previously mentioned about educating yourself. And for those of you that don't know the Budgetnista, she's amazing. Go buy her books on Amazon. She's incredible. But it's also about teaching yourself personal finance knowledge. You have to educate yourself in order to know these things, because these things aren't taught in school. And I think it's super important to listen to people like you who know exactly what to do and who advise millions of people on what they should do every day with their personal finance. So another question here, which I think is a really good one because I've actually done this before. Okay. What is the best way to ask your creditor for a lower interest rate?
So the best way is for already to be a good customer. So sometimes we forget that we take ourselves out of the creditors, their shoes, right? But just imagine your younger sister or brother says, hey, Mercedes, so can I borrow some money? Now, if you remember that your cousin or whatever borrowed money from you 2 years ago and never paid back, you're like, well, you're not exactly trustworthy now, right? Or, she borrowed money from me 3 times already, and every time she paid me back, you know what? No problem. It's the same thing. So if you're going to approach your creditor for a lower interest rate, it's going to be nearly impossible for them to say yes if you're late and behind on payments, right? Now, sometimes they will say yes if you're so behind, they just want something, so that might look like some sort of settlement, but you don't want to get there because you've already messed up your credit in doing so. So one, being a great customer, paying on time. So I do this every year. Okay, I've been really great with you or whatever bank, and I'm always paying on time, and my interest rate is currently 9%. What can you do? What can you do for me? Do your research ahead of time. So you can go on these comparison sites and can I say the sites? I'm not sure how.
Sure. Yeah.
Okay. So there's one particular Magnify Money. You can go on a comparison site and see what other interest rates are out there. And the best thing to know too is your credit score. So once you know your credit score, so there's a great site, creditscorecard.com. Get your credit score, go on a comparison site. My credit score currently right now is like an 803. So I can see what 803 should get me at another credit card company, and then I can bring it back to the card company that I'm with to say, hey, I know I can get an interest rate at 6%. You guys are charging me 9%. I'm looking about making a switch. They don't want to lose you. So, being a strong candidate, having your information with you, so you can saying I've already done the comparison, and then asking the question every single year. Be like a kid. What kids will come with a whole PowerPoint? They're like, I want a puppy. Let me show you why puppies are good for your health. Right? We forget that. Like being persistent, asking for what you want, and coming prepared.
That's so important. I never thought about going to another credit card company, getting that, your interest rate there, and going to your current credit card company, especially if you get points or it's something really great.
And not being afraid to leave. Sometimes it's okay to be like, you know what? That credit card company actually is better, so I'm just going to bail and leave.
Yeah. And I actually have a quick follow-up here is there such thing as good debt? Because I know that some people out there, carry a balance on their credit card for any specific reason and don't pay it off, even though they can, because they say carrying a certain amount of debt in your credit card is good or not. What is your opinion on carrying credit card debt?
You know who loves when you carry a credit card debt? The people you owe. They are so good. I'm like, I want to know who the publicist is for credit card companies, because they have literally convinced people, no, honestly, it's a great idea to just put it down there so I can continue to charge you interest. They make no money when you pay credit cards off in full. Every credit expert I know says for 99.99999% of people, paying off your credit card in full is the right way to go. If there's small little instances that carrying a balance might be okay, but truthfully, it's not really helpful. If you can pay off your credit card debt in full, you actually will see your credit card score jump, especially if you do it regularly. So when the recession happened last time, my credit score, which at the time was an 80 something, fell to a 547 because I couldn't afford my mortgage. Right? But one thing I did was right before my first late mortgage payment hit my credit score, I opened up 2 credit cards because I still had really great credit. And I opened up these 2 cards because I knew my credit score was about to take a hit. And I said, hey, 2 credit cards, I'm going to put Netflix on one and the gym, which was $25 on the other. And I'm going to put these 2 credit cards in my drawer. I'm going to have them charged every month automatically. And I'm going to have my checking account that I set aside my bills in, my bills checking account, pay those cards off for me every month in full. So it looked like I was charged every month, paid off every month. And even with the foreclosure, it took about 1.5 to 2 years. I was able to go to a 547 to a 750 with an active foreclosure. So you would look me up. She has a foreclosure which is like an S minus on your report card, which is like your credit card. And yet I still had a 750, which is excellent credit. And now I'm back in the 800. So paying off debt in full it does wonders for your credit. Don't let them fool you. They just want your money.
Definitely. The credit card companies hate you when you pay off your debt.
Yeah.
As you mentioned, they don't make money. So one follow-up question here. How many bank accounts do you have? How many separate ones? Do you have sinking funds available? For those of you that don't know what sinking funds are, they are just separate little bank accounts that you put towards different things. So if you want to put $10 towards payment or whatever, or if you want to take a trip to Europe, you put $50 towards this, and in a year you'll have a certain amount of money to go on a trip. So those are sinking funds. Tiffany, how many separate bank accounts do you have? You mentioned you have one for bills.
Yeah, so I have 4 core bank accounts. 4 core, come on, right? So 4 core bank accounts, and this is actually a quick tip. Even how to budget without budgeting. That's what I do for my husband. So here are the 4 core bank accounts, and so it's 2 checking, 2 savings. 1 checking for spending, 1 checking for bills, 1 savings for short term. And so short term being / emergencies, and 1 savings for long term. And so what you can actually do is, because I tried to get my husband to budget, it was like pulling teeth, and he was like, "You're a bully, budgeting, son, you're a bully." I'm like, whatever. So what I did was I said, okay, go to HR and say, HR, instead of dropping all my money into this 1 checking, which is what most of us do, this checking account tied to our debit card, I want you to split the money. So before my husband gets his money, some of his money goes into his checking account where he can spend it, where it's attached to his debit card. Some of his money goes into our joint bills account where we both pay bills from. Some of his money goes into a short-term savings account, which is our emergency fund, and some goes into a long-term savings account, which is our if you want to buy a house or big savings, right? Yeah. So those are the 4. And what I love about that is that the bills account, I've already automated all my bills, so I don't have to do anything. It pays the bills for us automatically. There's no debit card attached to the bills account. And this account, this is his spending account. So we each have our own spending account. So I know that when my husband has on new sneakers, I know that he didn't spend bill money, he didn't spend emergency money, and he did not spend long-term savings money, that it was his spending money. So those are the 4 core accounts. If you have those, if you don't feel like budgeting, you can have money for you. You can set it and forget it.
I love that. Get your HR to do that. Split up your paycheck in different cards or different accounts rather, because then it's out of sight, out of mind, and you don't see it, and you don't know that it's there, that it's going towards your savings or whatever. Another thing too, which I really like about banks, is something that I've heard personal finance experts talk about, is you can name your bank accounts in your bank. So go to your app, go to your Chase app, wherever you bank, and change the name so that you can be like, this is my trip to Europe. This is my remodeling my kitchen. Here's my long-term savings, my short-term savings. So is that something that you practice? Is that something that your clients practice?
Yes, absolutely. So usually for the long-term savings, this might be 5 different accounts for long-term savings. One might be called, like me and my husband are trying to have a baby. So I literally have a savings account called Super Baby. So my husband's nickname is Superman. So it's like Super Baby. And it was a house account and a car account. So the long-term savings account is typically multiple accounts, because like I like to have, your money has a place, and I like for my money to know exactly where it's going, so I can see exactly how far or how close I am to my goals. It's important though. Checking is in your regular big bank. Savings is in an online only savings account. And here's why: because online only banks pay higher interest because they don't have the overhead of a physical bank. 2, they make your money inconvenient, because I don't know about you, but I've got a Target habit. And so when I'm at Target, I'm like, ooh, Target. And so I would swipe my card, the one that's attached to my savings account, my checking account for spending, and there's no money there. Old Tiffany used to transfer from emergency savings right over to my checking, right? And so what would happen is that because it was at the same bank, the transfer was really quick, a few minutes, not even.
Yeah.
Now, if you're going to transfer from an online-only savings account to your regular brick-and-mortar bank, you're looking at a sometimes 72-hour wait, at least 24 hours. Yeah. So unless you plan on sleeping at Target, you're not going to spend your emergency savings. So it makes your money inconvenient, and inconvenient money gets saved.
Yep. And for those of you, those are called high yield savings accounts. They have higher interest than your brick and mortar banks do. So some of them, Marcus has a really good one. Ally has a really good one.
Yeah.
And as Tiffany mentioned, they don't have cards associated with them. So when you're at Target, you won't be swiping your long-term savings account that's growing money for you. So for those of you that have an emergency savings or some sort of savings account, open up a high yield if you don't have one yet. The interest rates are changing right now because of the coronavirus. I think they started a little bit before that as well. So definitely do some research. Check out money.com if you want to look for a really fun high yield savings account that will make you money and make your money work for you. Tiffany, thank you so much for joining us. This was so insightful and amazing. And for those of you watching, this is going to live on Money Mag, on our Instagram account, and on our YouTube channel. So go and find us there. Tiffany, where can people find you? Give our audience one last tip or nugget or knowledge.
Yes. So you can find me the Budgetista everywhere. Budgetista on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. But if you are needing help, because I know people are like, wait, I need help. So I've got a free online course. Well, there's really 5 of them. They're called the Live Richer Challenges. Over 900,000 women and some men have done at least one or more of the challenges. They're free. When I was on Queer Eye, if you watched, I told Tyreek I was going to give him this 36-day challenge to help get him on track, and it's been free for the last 5 years. You can go to livericherchallenge.com and choose one of the 5 challenges, and it's going to walk you step by step. It's an email course, and it's my gift back to the people that I serve. And so, so now you are officially a dream catcher.
Yes, so excited. Tiffany, thank you so much. That's Tiffany Alicia. She is The Budgetnista. Go follow her on Instagram at The Budgetnista. Go to her website, buy her books. Tiffany, you're amazing. Thank you so much. We would love to have you again very soon.
Thank you.
All right. Bye, guys. Thank you so much.